Welcome to Build Roads, a show about people who did not wait for the paths to appear, but they built their own. We started this show because we have lived this journey. Different countries, same lesson. Hi, I'm Dhruval, all the way from India.
Hi, I'm Alessandro from Italy.
This show isn't just about immigrants, but this show is about anyone who has built something from nothing. A company, a career, a life.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to sit down every episode talking with someone that has built industries, businesses, movements, and their own way of calling success.
And today, we couldn't think of a better person to launch this journey with. He is one of the most recognized names in the digital marketing industry. He built the roads on the internet even before people knew where they led to. He is an entrepreneur, investor, a teacher, and above all, a relentless builder. Please welcome our friend, Neil Patel.
They introduced us at the time. It was me and my brother-in-law who created the company, but at the time they introduced me to 3 more customers. So it was a good start. It started picking up. And they did the same deal. They're like, how about we pay you $5,000 a month per customer? I was like, oh, okay. I was 16, so at 16, 20 grand a month is a lot of money. So I think times have changed. America is a great country. I don't know where else I would want to live. I do love living here. You know, I know sometimes people look from the outside and they say, oh, this is terrible about America or great about America. Every country has great things and, you know, some things that may not be as great. The same stuff. So my ad agency, NP Digital, and that's where I spend most of my time. We're in 20 plus countries. I stopped counting, but 20 plus.
Neil, you and I, we have talked about it, our backgrounds and everything for a long time. I believe you were born in the UK, and then you and your family moved here when you were very young. Yeah. So when did you move here, and what was that transition like?
Yeah, so I moved here when I was a baby, so 1 or 2. I don't remember much. I remember, when I was 4 or 5, around that age, I have, quite a few of my memories still. And the real transition was, for me, it was more so life in America was the life that I knew, because, how far back I can remember. And to me, this is home and this is normal. And there wasn't really much transition because I grew up in the American culture, right? I don't know much about the culture in the UK or how life works over there when people are younger, but I understand the American culture because even though I wasn't born here, it's close enough, right? A few years apart.
Totally. And then where did you move here in the US?
So close to Los Angeles, Orange County.
Oh, pretty cool.
Yeah, by Pioneer, Artesia, the India town.
The India town.
Yeah. So grew up close to that, and spent a lot of my years there. Moved around within the United States, as I after college, Seattle, Vegas, but back to LA where family is.
So growing up, did you grow up speaking Gujarati and English?
Yeah.
And then how did that transition into your business? Like, when you're working with something, then you think in Gujarati or English or mix of both?
English, because even though I grew up close to that India community, we weren't that close. So majority of the time I spoke English. Spoke Gujarati to like grandparents because they didn't speak English well. But other than that, I spoke English majority of my life. And even now, I may speak Gujarati a few times a year, if that.
You had to convince your parents that you want to start a business rather than going to a traditional school. Yeah. How did that turn out, and how did you get on the other side successfully?
They wanted me to go to college. They thought no one would marry me if I didn't have a college degree. Back then, right now, I don't think college degrees are really that important, especially if you're in IT. But back then, my parents believed that you needed a college degree. Whether it was right or wrong, that's just what their belief was. But because I started my business when I was 16 and already making money, I still went to college, but they weren't pushing me down any specific path because I was already generating income. So there wasn't really much pressure to go get a job or anything like that.
Makes sense. That's what Indian parents want. Yeah. So yeah, no, definitely. And then I believe you went to Fullerton?
Yeah, I went to Cal State Fullerton, spent 5.5 years there. Took me a long time to graduate, but yeah, I enjoyed my time.
No, definitely. We can move on to the next segment.
That's an interesting journey from the UK to the US. When did you get first interested in the internet and technology?
For me, it was, videos, games. Like when I was growing up, people had the internet and there was movies, like actual movies. There were video games. There were surfing online and chatting with people. Back then we had AOL. And you can chat with people online on AOL Instant Message. But it was a interesting experience because of the internet, I was able to get access to music. Back then we were using, I think, Napster or something like that. Access to movies, music, video games. It was all the stuff that young kids want. And it was fun. The internet connection speeds weren't that great. And I remember it would take forever to download a music file. It would take an hour, 2 hours sometime. Now that same music file would download in a few seconds, if that even. But yeah.
Do you remember the first website that you were able to build?
Yeah, the first website I was able to build was a free website. I believe it was called GeoCities. And it was just a resource site where I put links to other websites, and that was really it. It was more like a one-page site.
Nice. And was that you said it was for free? I mean,
it was free, no domain or anything. It didn't cost any money.
How old were you?
I don't know. I was young.
And instead, what is the first time, you actually built something with the awareness of let's make some money out of this project?
So I tried creating a job board back in the day. The job board was named Advice Monkey. It did not work out. The goal was to create a job board like Monster.com or Career Builder and generate income. But site eventually got traction and traffic, but it didn't generate revenue. I didn't know how to generate revenue.
Well, did you had already tools to actually charge, or?
I didn't have any payment processing or anything, so I didn't think it through. Yeah. I was just like, oh, these other job boards make a lot of money. I'll just pop up a job board and I'll make some money too. And as you know, it doesn't work out that easily.
Yeah. Do you remember when that was?
I was, so maybe 2020. 2000 or 2001, sometime around there.
Yeah, definitely. At that time, we didn't have that many payment tools, right? How would you, without sending a wire from the bank?
I think there was PayPal at the time. I could be wrong.
I think it was, PayPal had just started, I think a couple of years into 2000, 2001. Okay. So, but yeah, that was, I think, one of the first payment platforms.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you were experimenting in those early days. And when it was that you actually realize, I'm actually good at this. I'm gonna do this.
It wasn't a project. It was, I got the job board to get traffic. It was generating no revenue though. And eventually I was speaking at a speech class at a local community college on how I drove traffic, and they hired me to help the company they work at. And it was more so helping them get traffic. It was a electronic power supply manufacturer, and they wanted to do more marketing, and that was my first paid gig.
And that what actually sparked your interest into SEO? What do you remember? What did you help them with?
I helped them with SEO and paid ads, but I had to learn SEO for my own website, right? Because I had to get traffic to it.
And we're still talking about 2000, early 2000?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, SEO at the time. I'm a fan. I've been probably studying SEO from you at the beginning. I was doing SEO when Google was under the Stanford domain with Alta Vista. I don't know if you remember the search engine. And there was there was a lot of interesting tricks.
Yeah.
Were you teaching those tricks too?
I was teaching them back in the day, yeah. Not as much. I was actually using them. I started teaching them maybe 4 years later.
Do you remember any of those?
The tricks?
Yeah.
Like put keywords on a page X number of times and you'd rank better, put it in your title and description. It was much easier back then.
Wasn't it? I knew a lot about hiding the text in the HTML.
You could make the text white on white background.
Yeah.
So people couldn't see it, but then the bots would see it and then it would help you rank higher.
Right. Yeah, I remember. It was completely different back then. It was much easier, I would say.
Yes, much easier. Good old days.
No, and again, going back to so in today's world, everybody wants to start a business or something or do something. When you started that, so what was your aha moment at that point in time that, okay, this is the thing, or this SEO or this marketing I want to do?
So that LPAC power supply manufacturer was my first client. When we started ranking them on Google and doing paid ads for them, it drove somewhere between 20 to 25 million in additional revenue. Now, that revenue wasn't created by me. We drove the traffic. Their sales reps had to close the leads, okay, because it was B2B. But when you think about it from that perspective, it was at that point, they were paying me $5,000 a month, and I was like, wow, this marketing thing can be pretty powerful and it can drive real results. I'm not saying they were making money hand over fist, because they have revenue, they have sales costs from that revenue, they have a product that to fulfill, which costs money, the marketing expense. So the profit was, they weren't profiting 20 to 25 million from this, but they were making, if I had to guess, in the millions in profit. I'm pretty sure they had healthy margins. And I looked at it and I was like, I could do really well from this. And I know I did well for them because they introduced us at the time. It was me and my brother-in-law who created the company, but at the time they introduced me to 3 more customers.
Okay.
So it was a good start.
So then
it started picking up. And they did the same deal. They're like, how about we pay you $5,000 a month per customer? I was like, oh, okay. I was 16. So at 16, 20 grand a month is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
So I'm 40 now, so 2001.
No, yeah. And then, so you mentioned that you started the company with your brother-in-law. So at that time, so how did that come together? That this is the company that you want to create?
When I got hit up from the LPAC and I was doing it on my own, and then as we were expanding more, I decided to partner with him. At the time, I knew him because my sister was dating him. They weren't married at the time. And he was studying business at UC Berkeley. And I let him focus on the business end. I was doing the more technical stuff. Although, if you fast forward to today, he's much more technical than I am. But and I do more of the business stuff versus what I spend most of my time on business-related stuff. He spends most of his time all throughout the organization. He does a lot of business activities like sales as well, but his background is much more product-centric than mine.
The cultural difference. So we have talked about this, and but again, if you can tell me in detail, like you work all across the globe. You have your businesses everywhere. But specifically, what happens when the cultural difference, right? You are building a business in another country. What is the cultural difference that you see from the U.S. In building those businesses over there?
Yeah, so we're in 20 plus countries. I stopped counting, but 20 plus. Now, I know some slides I've seen on my team deck, 30 something, but I don't think we actually have offices in 30 something, but I believe it's 20 something. Maybe we have people in 30 something. Countries move at different paces. Like Canada has a lot of similarities to the United States. Brazil, people are hungry, but they're more risk adverse from what we've seen. The younger generation may be a little bit different. Places like Israel, I've been to meetings there. I actually love this about their culture. They'll tell you and talk back when they think you're doing something wrong, which I love. In America, they don't really do that. No one wants to tell their boss that they're wrong. As an entrepreneur, If I'm doing something wrong and there's a better way to do it and I can make more money, why would I want someone to tell me? It's better for me if they did. In certain places like Europe, we're throughout all of Europe, people tend not to move jobs as much. It's also harder for a company to fire. It's much more expensive from a severance end, or the labor laws are much more strict than the United States. But every country has its nuances and differences. But the one thing that's similar is people are adapting technology super fast. Before, there used to be a lag. Like people would say like, oh, India is 5 or 10 years behind, or Brazil is X amount of years behind. Now there really isn't too much people are being behind when it comes to understanding the technology, because they have access to all the tools we have access to roughly at the same time. It's a question of do they want to use it or not. And because there's a big gap in GDP from some of those countries per capita to the US, it's actually more advantageous for them to adopt this technology like the OpenAIs of the world, because it allows them to compete with less resources and money versus having to hire people.
Right. And then you don't have to name names, but what's your experience working in India or working with Indian clients?
India is a very unique culture. I've learned this the hard way. And I'll break down some of the employee aspects and the corporate aspects. Employee aspects, I've learned that if you don't make people come to office in India, a lot of them will take 2 or 3 jobs and not tell you, right? That was new to me, and quite a few people told me that, and then I also experienced it, and I was like, would have never guessed. Because if someone tells me they're only working at one job, I would believe it. Also in India, when people believe you're doing something wrong in your organization, they don't really speak up and tell you. I also learned working with people in India, if you say you want something done, whether it's achievable or not achievable, their typical response is, yes, sir, I'm going to get it done. Don't worry about it. And over time, I've learned how to hire in India and recruit people that don't just say yes, but will tell you what's wrong or right or what you could do better. And when I say I learned how to hire better, I didn't really learn how to hire better. One of our colleagues, Dan, who heads up our APAC region, he's like, I work with this lady named Rubina. She's amazing. You should hire her. And she just speaks the truth. Right. And I was like, oh, this is very refreshing. And she's just like, yeah, you just got to work with the right people. Working with companies in India, the biggest thing that I've learned is very different than working with companies here in America. If your goal was to achieve 20% growth and I provide you 30% growth, usually you'll say, this is amazing, this is awesome, we're so ecstatic. I've learned culturally in India, not all companies, but some, if they say they want 20% growth and you provide them 30%, they usually will come to the meeting and be like, okay, this is fine and great, we already got the results. What more can you do, and how many more, what better results can you provide in the next 30 days, 60 days? Right. The culture of wanting just more and more, I was not used to that. But funny enough, one of my colleagues was talking to me and they're like, well, Neil, working with you in America, you're the same way. If you wanted 20% growth and we provide you 30%, you'd be like, congrats, team, this is awesome. But why aren't we achieving 40%? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That is kind of my personality.
Right. And to that point, so I just remembered something. So I was looking on X, I think a few months ago or something. There is one guy in India, and he actually had, I think, more than 10 jobs.
Developer.
Yeah, right? Developer. Yeah. And he was making money all over. I'm like, dude, I would have not even thought about it ever, Yeah. Like from India, he was working in American companies.
Yeah.
But like multiple.
It's hard to check.
Yeah.
But, we've learned to hire people that we've worked with in the past that have worked with other people and know how to recruit and just deal with it. And this is not just an India thing. This is an all country thing. It's hard to manage a ton of people from all these countries without having leadership on the ground that you can rely on and trust.
So you said It's an interesting thing about hiring and the experience. What would you say is your, let's say, magic power when it's about hiring? Is it about selecting the managers, especially with all remote teams? I mean, what's the advantage that you developed over the years, right?
Yeah, so we try not to do fully remote. I think some regions are remote, not all are, but some are. And maybe the majority are. The thing that we've learned when it comes to good leaders is if other people have worked with that person, it's less risky. But that only gets you so far. What we found is if someone worked at 2 or 3 of our competitors, they continually got promotions and did well, there's a good chance they'll do well for us too. And those are the people that we interview, make sure their culture fits, give them examples of problems, see what their solutions would be. If there's something tangible that they can do before we give them a job. Not every position has the ability to do a trial run like a developer or in marketing, but some executive levels it's really tough to do quick test runs. But if there's possibilities to do test runs, we usually try to do that and get feedback to see if we like them, like the work. We also let them know expectations, for them to get their hands dirty, even if they're a manager. We expect long hours, and we're just very direct and upfront. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But by being direct and upfront before we even hire them or before they even accept the job, it weeds out a lot of people.
And you obviously built multiple businesses out of that, and like NP Digital, Kissmetric, Crazy Eggs, and how do you decide what to move on next? What's your filter?
So I believe in focus. If you do too many things at once, it's hard to build anything that's a decent size. Very few of us are the Elon Musks, where they can do 3-4 companies successfully that are multi-billion. I don't have that in me, so I focus on one at a time. And I look for big markets, big total addressable market. The next thing that I look at, in addition to market size, is do I understand the space? Do I have knowledge in it? Do I have some sort of advantage that's gives me a leg up over the competition? Because that helps improve your odds of success. Do I know other people who could be potential customers and that can drive revenue pretty quickly? Because revenue is what makes or breaks a business, especially early on, right? A lot of people have a lack of capital. And then, of course, passion. If I don't love the idea and I'm not going to be 110% in it, there's no point in doing it because I'm not going to then put in the effort that's required to make it work.
Yeah, so it sounds like you mentioned, let me see if we can find customers for this new business out of our network, right? So using your network effect,
yes.
Kind of. Is there any time that you built a business in a new space?
I haven't built, well, when I was starting off, everything was new. This was like 20 plus years ago, but I tend to focus all my businesses on the marketing space, because it was what I was naturally good at and I enjoy. I tend not to go outside of marketing. I know there's other better sectors and bigger fields that make more money, but I stick to what I know.
And how did you you are so disciplined that you're not looking outside of your expertise or your main domain, right? Like digital marketing, because I'm sure an entrepreneur in your position, there are so many opportunities out there, right? Investment-wise, small tests, even I'm sure opportunities to build new teams very quickly, right? How can you be so disciplined, right?
Because I've done the other way and it's hurt me more times than I can remember, so I tend to not do it.
Is there anything you want to share?
You learn from pain. Like, I tried a company in the cloud computing space because it was a big market, invested in it. I didn't spend as much of my time on it, but I invested in it, got burned there. Tried a few other startups like that weren't in my wheelhouse and partnered with others, and it just didn't work. Like, I learned the hard way that you need to focus on what you know. Like, I tried something in the insurance space that didn't work, car insurance specifically. You got to love what you're doing and focus on what you know well and just double down on it.
And never the thought of partnering with somebody that pretty much would have brought in the domain expertise. Have never that crossed your mind? Or have you tried it but didn't work out for
I
some
have,
reason?
but also there's a risk with partnerships too. Do you get along with them? Is there a cultural fit? Are they going to work as hard as you? What are they going to bring to the table? There's no right or wrong approach to picking a partner, but it's just more so for me. I found that it's easier to just do stuff that I'm familiar with, that's in my expertise, and just keep going there. Like, I don't think marketing's going away, so I'm okay just focusing the rest of my life on it.
Would you say, just to wrap it up, this apart, I mean, what are the things you would say no to in terms of what are the filters? It's just about the domain, the sector, anything else you feel like?
Big market, do I have some sort of advantage? And do I know I can recruit good people because I know the space well, and can I generate revenue?
That's a really strong, disciplined approach, Neil. What do you see in the market? Any trends in digital marketing, of course, and SEO? Any trends? Any specific aspects that are underestimated these days?
Optimizing for LLMs like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot. There's traffic to be had everywhere. There's revenue to be had from all these LLMs, but not too many companies are focusing on it yet.
What are you guys doing on that?
Yeah, so a lot of it is similar to SEO, but there's some nuances like, brand mentions are effective. You don't actually need the backlinks. They look at things like reviews and ratings of companies. They can understand sentiment better. So we focus on a lot of things like that. They're pulling from sources like Reddit, although that's been decreasing lately. So we're just looking at, just like every search engine has a different algorithm. Certain LLMs prefer citing from Wikipedia versus Reddit or versus YouTube. So you go and you understand what is different for that LLM, and you try to tweak things so it works for that LLM.
Interesting. And would you say that you primarily, your clients are primarily enterprises or small business?
Majority of the customers are non-enterprises. SMBs make up the majority of the revenue comes from enterprise. So majority of our business, I would say, is enterprise. It's not just the majority of the client count. Because the enterprises are much bigger, we don't have as many of them. There's a lot of SMBs, like people that can pay you $5,000, $10,000 a month.
Would you say that comes because of your experience with working with SMBs?
No. Just, enterprises just as well, but there's not as many companies that can pay you $1 million, a year, versus someone paying you $50,000 or $60,000 a year. So you're naturally going to have more SMBs looking for marketing than enterprises.
Oh, yeah. Right. Number-wise, of course, it makes sense.
But yeah.
If you were to start all over again, or what would you tell your 16-year-old self when you started and where you are right now?
I would tell myself to pick a big market, because the riches are not in the niches, they're in big markets. If you look at all the large corporations out there that do well, they're in massive markets. And the second thing I would tell my younger self was, whatever I'm doing, stick with it for a long time, because I had ADD going on too much in my earlier entrepreneurial career, where I tried to do too many businesses at the same time, didn't focus enough, and there's barely enough time for one business. So when you try to do too many things at once, none of them really gets the attention that they deserve.
Right now, with all the political drama going on in our country, and the cap on the price increase on H-1Bs. Yeah. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to move to the US from all over the world and start a business here. What do you see, or what advice would you give it to them? Because you have been working in all over the globe. What's different than just starting business in the US or anywhere else?
So I think times have changed. America is a great country. I don't know where else I would want to live. I do love living here. I know sometimes people look from the outside and they say, oh, this is terrible about America or great about America. Every country has great things and, some things that may not be as great. But I do love this country, and I think this is the land of opportunity, especially for entrepreneurs. And what you can do here, you can't always do in many other countries. But with technology and the shift, I wouldn't worry too much about H-1B visa cost or anything like that. You can build a business from anywhere. If you want to come here and you need more money to do it, or it's more expensive and a company's not paying for it, well, you can build a business anywhere, get started, generate revenue, and then eventually migrate your way into the US.
Get that the green card visa or
The golden-
the gold card, the gold card,
Yeah,
the gold
I think
card.
they just reduced the price on it. I could be wrong.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Because at first, weren't they saying they're going to charge like $5 million or something
Yeah.
like that? I think they're reducing pricing on it. I could be wrong. Many ways to come to the U.S. Legally, and starting a business from scratch here, or whether it's India, or whether it's China, or Brazil, or Canada, you can start a business in many different locations and countries, and it doesn't have to be the U.S., but you can eventually expand into here, or you can eventually move here. You just got to be patient.
this is still the best country to build business, be with the family and everything. Yeah, the opportunities that we get here, other countries are still catching up. I think, yeah. You can do it, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
But you can catching up. 10 years from now, where do you see yourself, or would you be just sitting on a beach somewhere, retired, or?
No, I don't
you're
think
still-
I can ever retire. I think I'll do the same thing all over again, just grinding it out. And yeah, I don't know what else I would end up doing. But I enjoy the grind. I enjoy working. And when I'm not working, I think about work.
Another thing is that you have been building businesses forever. You have been investing in everything. The times have changed in the sense that, finding a good co-founder that is actually of paramount importance in building the company, that can make or break your company. And I have seen a lot of startups that break because of that, when the founders are not aligned. Regardless of relationships, what do you see that a person should look for in each other as a co-founder?
Look at it as yin and yang. What can you bring to the table and what can they bring to the table? It shouldn't be the same thing. So if you're amazing at coding, but you suck at design, you may need a product person who can do design and product. And as a pair, you may be like, we suck at marketing and sales and operations. Well, you may need a business person who can do the marketing, sales, and operations, right? You usually don't want to have more than 2 or 3 co-founders, but the key is find people who have different skill sets than you, because money is always tight at the beginning. So having people who can do different things instead of hiring for it does save money.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Yeah.
What I'm interested in the cultural approach, right? The Neil, how did you see that the experience you have in upspring within an Indian family growing up in the US? How would you see? Is there anything that connects that kind of experience with the entrepreneur that you are today?
So in America, people will consider me Indian. If I go to India, they'll consider me American because I don't know much about my culture. My parents tried teaching me some, but they didn't focus too much on it. They taught me more about the American culture. They did teach me some about my own as well, but I was indoctrinated into the American society, so it's easier to pick up on the American culture. And I'm very different from my parents. I don't think too many things from the Indian background or my Gujarati background helped me. I think being surrounded by entrepreneurs, doesn't matter what nationality, and people who thought about business, were good with money, who wanted to make more money, I think that did help me because you're around a community that could inspire, help, motivate you, guide you, versus people who are only working 9-to-5 jobs. I think that helped me more than anything else.
Yeah. And is there any more inner aspect in your daily decision making that could be somehow coming from your heritage?
Gujaratis are known for being penny pinchers, right? So I've always believed that it's harder to make money than it is to save it. Now, that doesn't mean, my parents, if you look at the older generation, my parents' generation, they're not really spenders. They're just pure savers, and they tend not to take as many risks. I, on the other hand, am careful with my money, but I believe there's a right time and place to double down and spend. And when you double down and spend and invest and take swings, sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't, but no risk, no reward. So I think the combination of two has really helped, because in America, if you look at society here, people take risks. The American dream, they go for it. Not everyone does, but some people do. And the culture here, if you fail, it's okay. Pick yourself up and keep going. And there's nothing wrong with that. So a combination of being decent with money and then doubling down when I really felt that I was onto something, I think helped a little bit.
Nice. What would you say to your younger self with the experience that you have right now? Is there anything that you would have appreciated to be more aware of that you can tell yourself right now?
Yeah, just be patient. I always wanted everything right away when I was younger, and good things take a while. Businesses aren't built overnight. AI did not just go from 0 to 500 billion overnight. They've been doing this for a very long time with a lot of capital. In the first few years, no one really heard about the company. They were just spending and developing on the back end.
Yeah. And is there anything where are you putting your energy these days? Anything new you're building or anything you're maturing?
Same stuff. So my ad agency, NP Digital, and that's where I spend most of my time.
Any new ventures, any new ideas
I try not to do new ventures, new ideas, just focus to the one that's working and double down on it. The economy is bad. I don't want to do 10 things right now.
So somehow the Gujarati culture is kicking in, isn't it?
Yes. But also, what made me not do as well in the past is doing too many things. So I try to get away from that, and I try to focus more.
Nice. And you already shared with us your kind of rules in trying to stay on the lane. And what would you recommend to a young entrepreneur these days about being, with all of this, with AI, everything is happening really fast, right? Product market fit is extremely quick. Companies are getting to revenue and profitability very soon. And so there are many opportunities in a founder's journey since the early stages. What would you recommend to these younger founders, especially to stay, about being more focused?
I would not tell them to be more focused. I would tell the younger founders, your life expectancy is much better than mine. So be healthy, and you don't have to accomplish everything in your late teens or early 20s. I would tell them to go try a few different things for a week at a time and learn what they like and what they dislike, and it'll help them decide what they want to do in life and what kind of business they want to focus on. And if they're still unsure, maybe even work for someone for a year or two to get some experience and learn from them and see how companies grow and scale, and then go do something on your own.
So multivariate testing.
Yes. They have so much time, right? I think I was an entrepreneur at a really young age. To some extent, it's not a good or a bad thing, but people have so much time. Everyone's in a rush. You can build big businesses in your 40s and 50s and 60s. Who says you have to do it in your 20s and you have no other chance?
Yeah, wasn't it like a recent article that also Y Combinator's company, the statistic says that there are founders older than 30 or 35 actually have a much higher ratio of success.
I didn't know that. I didn't see that article, but
I think, yeah, so I think that not Y, so Y Combinator, I think they prefer younger founders, but it was some Forbes or something, right, that the average age of a founder is 42 years to start a company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Successful. Because their rationale was that they already have experience. They have either worked in a corporate or something like that, and then so they already bring that experience in building a company. So their timeline might be a little bit shorter to reach at a certain stage of the startup. So, yeah. I actually have one question. It's tied to this. And we all experience that on a regular basis. You have been doing this forever. And I know, I mean, you are passionate, you love what you're doing, so you never get tired about this. But if you ever get burnt out, how do you cope with that, or how do you get out of that?
So I look at burnout as something different, and there's different ways to think about it. Most people that I know, including me, tend to get burned out when something's not working. Don't really get burned out from working. When things are going well, people rarely ever say they're burnt out, even if they're working 20 hours, you know, not really 20 hours in a day, but call it 15, 16 hours in a day. People get burned out when they're not getting success. And I always tell people, if you're burnt out, a vacation doesn't help. You have to figure out what's not working and how you can adjust and then go from there.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, and to that point, so in the last few years, longevity has blown out.
Yes.
And it's not just for like people want to live longer, but it's the healthier body as well, right? I mean, what you mentioned, that it not necessarily you have to do everything in your 20s or 30s. You can also do it in 40s, 50s, and 60s. Do you have any ritual or anything to stay healthy, focused, energetic all the time?
I don't drink coffee or caffeine or anything like that. I tend to wake up early. I try to work out most days, although I do miss some days out of the week. I try to walk 10,000 steps a day, eat clean, and that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You get good sleep too.
Yeah.
I try to get 8 hours of sleep a day.
No Gujarati thing like the turmeric or ginger or anything.
No,
What is
my
that?
mom will tell me.
So, like our families, our grandparents or even our parents. So, whenever in India, like you get sick, you don't take medicines or anything. You just get a ginger, turmeric, and all these things. Or even on a regular day-to-day basis, they say that it keeps you your immunity stronger and keeps you healthy. But yeah.
Yeah, don't try any of that stuff. It probably works, but don't try it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have been taking turmeric forever, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I haven't measured it. So, no, thank you. This was really amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And
Anything else you want to share that we
Yeah.
didn't ask about? Anything?
I think you guys asked most of the things. So, but just be patient. No matter what you're doing, whether it's podcasting or creating a business or anything, everything just takes time.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks everyone for watching and listening.